Anytime I talk to someone opening a hotel, I tell them to call Cintas. I've worked with them for years, and they're always leading the industry forward. And now, they're doing it again with Design Collective by Cintas. Gone are the days of all hotel employees looking exactly the same in outdated, mandated uniforms. Now, award-winning fashion designers at Design Collective by Cintas develop modern employee wardrobe collections. Retaining staff is about choice, and allowing employees to select garments they want is part of that choice. Employees love expressing their authentic selves, and now they can do it through apparel while their apparel stays on brand. A well-dressed team member is happier and more likely to deliver exceptional service while enhancing the overall hotel or casino experience. There is no other wardrobe collection like Design Collective. Their experience in design, along with their ability to actually implement the program, makes them the only company I'll call when it comes to employee apparel, period. Call them at 1-800-864-3676 or online at cintas.com/Design Collective.
It's checking in with Anthony and Glenn, teaching you to be the hotelier that you wanna be. It's checking in with Anthony and Glenn.
Anthony!
Jeff.
New? Try again.
Jeff.
Still wrong.
Jeff.
No, I'm Glenn.
The guy that's putting all this together. Can you give him some credit?
Well, Jeff's freaking awesome, but I am your co-host, and I was just hoping for a little attention today.
Oh, but Jeff's putting this great thing together, and I see him working, and we're getting all the credit. So I just wanted to say his name.
Yeah, of course. That's our producer, Jeff Polly, over there. He's taking care of everything. If you're watching the video, it's because of him, and he's also the one that encouraged me to get these sexy new microphones that we're using now. He's giving them the thumbs up. So I'm excited today. I want us to have a very true conversation. Yeah, I feel like
no pun intended.
I know, no pun intended. That's why we have Talene Staab, Global Head, True by Hilton. Just opened up their 100th hotel. Congratulations.
Thank you. We're so excited. I can't believe it's already 100.
I can't believe it's already 100 either. I don't know if it's officially, but it's got to be the fastest to 100 of all time in hotels.
I think so. That's what I say.
That's true.
Yeah, and honestly, no one's going to check anyway. You might as well just put it out there.
It.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Well, welcome aboard. We're excited. Out of all the people I've had on all the shows, very rarely do I get to speak to a global head who I haven't had a conversation with really at all the conferences and stuff like that. It's strange that we don't really know each other better. So I'm glad that we're finally going to get a chance to know each other.
This is my arrival moment. So
it'd probably be my departure moment.
Well, it does say a lot about you, Glenn, because you're in a very big position and you have a lot going on that you would spend time with me and Glenn. Says a lot about Glenn's being able to persuade you.
I think it says more, Anthony, about how awesome you are, but. I think first let's start with the basics. Let's talk a little truth about True. Tell us a little bit about the brand, why it's different. Why do you think it's getting people excited that you're able to get 100 open so freaking quickly?
I know. You know what? Hilton has amazing brands. And if you look at, we really didn't have anything in the mid-scale segment. So think about guests that wanted something in that price point. They would have to leave the Hilton system.
Right.
So Hilton wanted to address that. So that's what True is. It's our mid-scale brand. And it's really different because it appeals to people who are, we always say, spirited, simplified, and grounded in value. That's what we're going for. And that's exactly what we answer to.
And you know what's great? Every time we have somebody of her stature on and with such a big portfolio, they always bring people with them.
I know.
And there's people behind her. I'm afraid I'm going to say something they're going to get mad at.
Let me tell you, you should be afraid of that. I've had some, a lot of times just to demystify what goes on. A lot of times, we work with public relations teams in order to be able to bring these guests on board. And sometimes they are around you. Now, in this case, it's absolutely a lovely situation, but sometimes you have people, the PR people that are super, super
I'm afraid you're going to take the mic out of my hand. hand.
I know, right? Right? No, not her. She's cool. We got
wait till the questions I start asking.
Oh, God Almighty! I'm just trying to pretend it's not going to happen.
She's cool.
I know.
I do make him nervous, by the way.
Constantly, Talene. Seriously.
So I have a question.
Oh boy! See,
Okay,
now I'm nervous.
Here we go.
One of the things that I hear all the time is that brands have too many brands. A Hilton or a Marriott, they have too many brands.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me about that. When you hear that, 'cause you hear it too. You hear it all the time.
We do hear it all
start
the
off
time.
the softball question.
Yeah, I know. Thanks for the softball.
You're welcome.
I do think that Hilton grows our company organically. So
Right.
we create the brands, so we don't just gobble up, but we create brands where we find white space. So we've heard white space before. And you look at our portfolio, I kind of started out by saying it. You've got Waldorf at the top of the luxury. Down Hampton was at the base price. There was nothing below Hampton. And we saw people leaving the Hilton Honor System to stay at other hotels. So we could address
to be
that.
fair, over its 30-year history, Hampton kind of crept much more upward than was expected to be when it was originally created.
And Hampton crushes it. So
Yeah,
there is space below.
crushes
right.
it.
And then that's where we kind of
And what I see in the market where the big box Hilton or the big box Marriott or whatever, they were the preferred choice. Now I'm starting.
We don't
to
use that
see-
word on Hilton podcasts.
Okay, I'm starting to see. I got a little nervous when you said that. I was like, shit. We can edit that out, and plus we can edit out the curse word I just said. I promise we will. So, what was I saying? Do I ever get nervous? I never get nervous.
Oh my God, this is the best.
watching him get nervous.
But now everybody's looking for that kind of brand. Everybody's looking for comfort and express and quick and not these big hotels with these 800 rooms and then wait 20 minutes for my elevators. Like, I love those brands. Like, and I think that's where we are now. And that's why you're seeing the pipeline filled with these type of brands, because especially True, because they do it so well.
Well, to be fair, I've waited 20 minutes for elevators. A lot of hotels here in New York City with the way that some of them are constructed.
Yeah.
But I'm just teasing. But yeah, Anthony is absolutely right. I think you guys really hit on that sweet spot where culture has moved to in a lot of ways, and it's capturing the imagination of a lot of travelers that are out there. I'm having this age issue where I forget things that were more than 2 or 3 years ago. Was it 3 years ago at Atlas that this was announced? Or
2016.
2016.
Yeah.
So it was right.
And then the first one opened in 17.
Right. Okay.
By 18 we had 50, and 19 we have 100.
Wow,
So,
that's absolutely incredible.
Yeah, it's incredible.
What's the secret of the growing so fast? What's the the sweet spot?
When we launched at Alice, we had 100 deals already at open.
Right.
At the launch.
So
So that tells you like the confidence and the partnership with our existing owner base. I mean, we built it with them. I mean, we built this not in a secret room somewhere. Owners actually helped design this brand. If we were going to address this white space, what would that look like? What would it need to be successful? And we've got a ton of really smart people at Hilton and a lot of really smart owners who have lived it. And so that's where it comes together.
Can I ask another tough question?
Yeah, go for it.
How important is a HOA within the hotel community?
Very important.
Right.
So if you look at, and I saw you just speaking to our friends with a HOA, very important. You see this, and I love talking about the AHOA community, because you're seeing like across generations. You see this like the first generation hoteliers coming in and being really scrappy and networked and working together. And then you see in the next generation now might have gone to business school. They're bringing their expertise into the pipe. They're bringing technology in a different view, but they've got like almost this institutional knowledge. So you've got this really cool audience, and that's kind of spreading the wealth and the
Right.
and
it's
the
really
know.
what I find are those conversations between the first, second, third generations of Dad, Mom, give me a shot. Let me try. This brand will come through for me. And you probably see that all the time. I think that's what I just launched a new company, and that's what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
I'm seeing like they're taking risks, and it's our job, whether it be Hilton or whether it be what I'm doing, is to back up their risk that they're taking with the first generation.
100%. I look at it's a risky business to be a hotel owner. I think they're really brave to do it. So our job as a brand is to make sure we're giving them as much tools and kind of reinforcements in a product. Like our engine has to be super strong. They can build whatever they want to build, but our engine will back it up. And that's what we hear from our owners. And we ask that all the time. Are we still providing? Is that engine still worth the price? Because we are a premium, but we get premiums for it. So, but that audience is really important.
And let me just make a quick note for our people wondering what this conversation is doing in this particular podcast. We're broadcasting this from the show floor at HX, the hotel experience powered by AHOA at Jacob Javits Center. So we've been talking to a lot of folks within the AHOA organization while we're recording these shows over a couple of days. But I love what you're doing, and you're connecting with the different way that people want to experience hotels. Much more emphasis on the public spaces, and you seem to be hitting a way that people just want to live today and experience a property today. And I want to know, the reason why I say that is because you mentioned something about doing this hand in hand with owners. What did they bring to the table in development with it? And how did all the ideas from both sides of the table all come together to create something that was so cohesive that led to such explosive growth so quick?
Right. I think we needed to find something that was going to address the guest need for a price point that was affordable. So that needs to happen. To do that, then what's the product going to be like? And then how do you build that product? So they were helping us with design, with operational flow. How do you still provide breakfast that's going to be affordable? So it was every single aspect of it they helped us through to think about.
I got a hardball question.
Okay.
When you were 17 years old, did you think you would be sitting in this seat?
No way. I grew up in Hilton. I started right out of
Really?
UNH. I went to UNH hotel school because my parents wanted me to get a business degree, and I thought hotels is a fun way to do it.
Why?
This was like our compromise because I thought hotel side would be, I didn't know anything about hotels other than we stayed in them. And I thought it counts as a business degree, but it's a way cooler side of business, I thought. Mm-hmm. So I went into that, and my family moved. I grew up in Boston, and I wanted to go to school in California, and they were like, you can't go to school in California. There's schools all over New England. So I started my freshman year at UNH, and then they moved to San Diego. So they stayed at an Embassy Suites when they relocated, and they were like, this is the greatest brand we've ever stayed in. You need to get a job there. Yeah. And eventually I did.
I mean, at that period of time, have 2 rooms in a hotel.
And it was free drinks and free breakfast.
So unheard of.
Overland Park, Kansas is the first Embassy Suites ever built.
Yep.
That's where I got my career
started. Did you really?
Absolutely. I was in the military, and on the weekends I worked at Embassy Suites. And my number one job after I learned a little bit about night audit and stuff was to figure out how to get everybody through the breakfast line quicker.
Yep.
So guess what I did? I set up 2 lines, and I was a genius. And Arlene, the general manager, thought I was the smartest person in the world.
Innovation.
And she's probably to this day, I haven't spoken to her since then, but I see her on Facebook. And she was general manager at Embassy Suites in Overland Park. And she was really instrumental in my career because the first time I ever wore a suit, went to a meeting, because Arlene said, hey, we're going to like a community board meeting. Get a suit on, come with me. And I was just like, okay. I spent like 5 hours in Dillard's over near the hotel trying to find a suit and a tie. Yeah. And I remember being in that meeting, and the first thing she said to me was like, you look very good. And I sat there, and I had my little leather binder, and we took notes, whatever. But my career started at
That's
Hilton.
great.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So why didn't I know about you before you became global head of True by Hilton?
She was in jail.
What were you doing with Hilton before then that they were keeping you under wraps and in prison?
I was running Black Ops at Hilton. You did it. You knew of me. You just didn't know you knew me. I was on embassy side for most of my career. I was a regional director, and then when the office moved to McLean, I said, let's try something new. So I was doing product innovation, learning about guest amenities and learning about what owners say when you switch amenities. That was my first foray into ownership side. And then I launched Canopy. I was on the Canopy launch team, so I learned about development and brand development. And then I got a job as VP of Owner Relations, which was probably the most challenging. I was terrified.
Yeah, no doubt.
They
put you on the firing line.
It was the greatest job.
It
was the greatest job. I learned the most quickly, and
you said that with a straight face.
I did. I'm serious. I really was terrified of it, but I loved it. And that's what I did prior to this role. So
okay. So what did you learn in that process that you think prepared you to take on the global head position?
I think growing up through ops, you learn about the guest and you learn about the team. Mm-hmm. being at corporate, I learned, Hilton's a big company. You got to learn how to work the corporate matrix, which is tough.
Yeah.
But when you know it and the people are awesome, you know how to work your way through corporate. And then to work on the owner side, I think that's the three legs of the stool. You've got brand, management, and
You
ownership.
just said something important. So
Yes.
think about the thing when you were there, and owner relations is probably the most difficult position to be in a brand. What was the biggest, and again, I don't want to be politically incorrect, but the biggest disconnect between the owner and the brand that you kind of helped solve or manage?
Good question.
Yeah, I love talking about this. Hilton, if you think about from the Promise days till today, it really kind of cobbled together and became what it is today.
Right. Just to give people a quick lesson there, Promise was a company Hilton bought 20-something
I
years
think
ago.
so, yeah.
Right?
The president was Rose. The gentleman's name was Rose.
Oh, was it Mike DeRose?
Yeah,
He was
years.
Something
that's from
like
the
that.
beginning.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was at the beginning
Yeah.
of the first wave of consolidation
Yes.
in the industry. So please continue.
So as each division each brand kind of did its thing and worked in its own way, they understood. The brand teams knew their way. The AD&C teams knew what they were doing. Revenue management knows what they're doing. But the owners, as they grow and build more and more brands, they're seeing Hilton for like the whole spectrum. They see what we look like. Like I say, like they see the whole elephant. And sometimes in a big company, you can just see bits and pieces. So the biggest takeaway was to say, this is what owners are telling us how we show up. And some of it was great, and there were obviously some opportunities too. So that was the most fun part, was to kind of come back and say, look, this is the owner relations team is the mirror to how Hilton operates, and how can we use this knowledge to take away all those gaps and make us even stronger.
So give us an example then of something that never occurred to you, but the owners said this is an issue that they have, that you were able to be an instrument of change to help bring both parties together.
It can be simple things like just you can have similar brands that maybe on an ownership or management level look pretty similar, but the brand standards might be this much apart, so that operations kind of has to stop and shift gears just to make sure that standard is met. So it's almost like these little friction points to us kind of can slide under the radar, but to an owner who has a portfolio of a few brands, it can become a big
And those
waste
little
of time.
friction points are the big friction points.
Yeah.
Because the little problems are always the big.
Right.
they
And
always
if we
become
can
the big
alleviate that, and so one of the coolest things is, we kind of talk about continuing to be easier to do business with. How can we just remove those friction points? And then we want to be the preferred partner with owners every time.
So back in the day when Embassy Suites started, and again, being at the first hotel back in 1987, Embassy Suites implementing free full breakfast and free drinks, free complimentary spirits at night.
Manager's reception.
Everybody thought they were crazy and they would go out of business. And very early on, I realized what they were doing. And the management reception, I actually incorporated to every single hotel, independent hotel I've ever done. Because the management reception isn't a managed reception just to make the guest you have a couple of drinks. It's to get business cards, to know who's in your who's in your hotel. And you were the first people to figure that out. And a lot of brands, a lot of people still haven't figured that out.
Yeah.
That's the best place to get your people.
No,
before they go to dinner, before they go out talking business, you get a couple drinks, you get a young salesperson or a director of sales or whoever, grabbing business cards, finding out what you're doing. Oh, you know what? We have another business coming, and it's going to be in Charlotte. Well, we have a hotel in Charlotte.
Right.
I thought that was brilliant.
So at True, we don't have necessarily dedicated salespeople, directors of sales, but we have a pool table, a foosball table. You've got the market at the desk. You've got breakfast right there, all at where the front desk team stands.
And it allows them
It's all together. You have like these built-in engagement points. And if you think about technology and more people are going to use digital key and maybe not check in at the front desk, you're going to be looking for ways to interact with people. So you can interview your team members over a game of pool. You can, talk to your new customers looking at the polo shirt.
And I was just talking about that more technology means less touch points. By doing it that way, all the touch points are right there.
Right.
So those people have
And
to be
they're
highly
better
trained.
quality.
They're better quality. And that's what we were just talking about on the podcast, that the technology is taking away a lot of touch points. But those few touch points that you do have, they have to be at a much higher level. And so, brilliant.
You totally beat me to it, Anthony, because I was thinking about how so many human roles are leaving the hospitality industry, and there's some variable factors between customer demands of technology and the price of labor these days, but it's so important to keep connected with the people in the hotel, with the staff in the hotel. It's the best place of insight that you could possibly get into what your customers want, where the business is coming from, and how you can improve your overall operations of your business. Now, I was on a Facebook group the other day. There's a whole bunch of them about line level employees, and one woman was saying that she spends a lot of time wining and dining people, like at the hotel at night with receptions and stuff like that, and talking to them, and is she doing the right thing? And there was a lot of people that were like, no, other people should be doing it. You're the GM. You shouldn't be worried about that. And I'm like, no, you are right on target. You are learning who are the people that are staying in your hotel and what they want and how to empower your business. And when you make great connections like that, that is going to help you, not just your hotel, but your entire career as well. So it surprises me that there are folks that aren't taking your point of view of Anthony and learning in the same way.
That's the same GM that says, I'm too busy to interview my employees.
Right.
Now, at Embassy Suites, when I was there, the GM and the DOS sat in the lobby.
Absolutely.
That's where I had to sit.
Yeah.
And I thought that was crazy, but it was kind of one of the best things that I ever learned was you see what the sales team was selling too.
Yeah. Absolutely. Bob Legler's office, who's a friend of mine to this day, was in the lobby, and Arlene's was in the lobby, and you see everything.
Yeah.
And I think that's the best. I think that's what one of the things that we do as managers sometimes is because we're so busy and we're in meetings and we got owners and we got all these problems, you get away from your employees and your guests. Well, that's where you belong.
Yeah.
Other people should be doing that other stuff. And if you're taking care of your guests and your employees, you're going to have a good hotel.
Yeah,
I agree.
I absolutely agree as well. So back to True as a brand.
Yeah.
You got like 300 in the pipeline now?
320, yeah.
320?
Yeah.
What? My goodness.
Well, right now, I mean, I could have more by the time I leave today.
I like that she actually checked her watch.
Actually, I have a funny story. I was talking to someone. I just took this role on in March, and I was telling someone, I can't believe we have two buildings at the Hilton headquarters across the Parkway from each other.
Right.
And I was at one building and I said, we have 80 hotels. The growth has been phenomenal. And then I got to my desk and I saw the notice that we had 82 open. And I said, what happened to 81? Well, it opened on my walk across the street.
So let's break it down. Like kind of you usually break things down. So I'm going to try to ask this question where it breaks it down. When we say to someone, True has 100 hotels, 300 hotels in the pipeline, we just opened up 2. What is the process of that? Are you doing the construction? Is True going there and building the hotel? Are they buying the land? I know the answer, but a lot of people listening to this don't understand how that works.
Okay, sure. So, so someone has a parcel of land and first has to decide, am I even going to build a hotel or am I going to build retail or something else? They build a hotel. We hope it's going to be one of our brands. So if it becomes one of our brands, then we see what's available in the market. Hopefully it's a True. That's what's great about True is there's so much space.
A lot of open space.
There's a lot of space. So when it's a True, then they fill out the application.
But explain what open space means again, as far as because a lot of people don't understand those.
We're really going Hotel 101.
Yeah, we're going. We're going in. Yeah,
I agree.
You bet.
Because a lot of young general managers, assistant general managers haven't seen the side of the business. It took me 30 years to see the side of the business.
Me too.
So I think it's really important that we explain what that parameter means.
So
in that contract.
area of protection.
Yes. So if you've got a parcel of land where there isn't any other competition, you need to see, if there's another Hampton in the market, then you can't build a Hampton. If maybe the market needs a full service hotel so you want to look at the complexion of what is already in the market, what can the market bear, what does it need, and so then the owner will make the assessment of what brand it should be. Then they go through the process with the brands to determine is that a viable application. They put an application in.
There's a lot of competition between the brands.
There's a lot of competition sometimes too within, existing brand families to other brands. So kind of you whittle it down to, is it a hotel? Then what scale of hotel? Full service, limited service. And then you decide maybe which family of brands it will be. Will it be even branded at all? And then you kind of go from there. So you make your determination, you put the application in, it vets through a team of people at the company you're with. from development to AD&C to the brand heads, all of that.
And then to add in another wrinkle,
Yes.
whoever is lending the money to create the project wants to have confidence in that particular brand
Right.
as well. So some brands rise to the top a little bit more than other brands. And the Hilton family of brands is typically considered one of those top tier brands that both national, international, and local banks like.
Right. So that certainly helps to grease the wheels there, and that not literally, but just the process. So then once that goes through, and sometimes there's an issue with what's called impact. So there might be another owner who might have built a hotel with a similar brand that isn't happy that another sister brand is coming in. So there's a lot of that give and take. But these are the realities.
They're not happy.
Yeah,
That's pretty
it happens.
intense.
They're
I
not
think
thrilled.
it's-
I know when another company made a massive acquisition and did a merger, a lot of those issues started to come up where there wasn't competition directly before all of that happened. So impact issues are a very real issue because you don't want to invest a couple of few $1 million into a property only to have that same product open very close by.
Yeah. So it's a pretty complex process. It's not as easy as it might seem.
Yeah,
to just
one
put an
other thing is
application in and-
some of the companies out there. I actually don't know if you do or do not do this yourselves, but you will have land already figured out, and you could bring those parcels to developers as well.
I think just the whole network of all of it is what's interesting. You were
Right.
asking, like, does Hilton buy the land, build it? No. So all of that is really on the owner developer side. So that's where you've got people that are really good at finding land, choosing brands and building them. And then you've got other people that like to just run the hotels. And some people like to do all of that. Some people like to buy existing hotels. So I think another thing, kind of going back to my owner days, is to look at the segmentation of owners. You got to know who the owners are and what their game plan is, because if they're just looking to build and flip versus build and hang on for the rest of their lives, this is like the most important thing they're ever going to do, and that's all they want to do. You need to know that so that when you have conversations with them, you're helping them achieve their goals.
And that's to my next point. It's not only buying the brand and buying your organization and your engine, but you're also shopping owners where it's like, you want good owners too.
Mm-hmm.
Because good owners are really important to your brand because they're helping run your brand. I mean, they've got your name on them.
Yep.
And that's a really important part of
Yeah.
Well, heck, good owners is why True is able to get from 0 to
We
100.
have great owners.
Exactly.
Thank
Right?
goodness for our
Because
great
they already
owners.
had confidence in
Yep.
the Hilton as the company, and then this new brand came on, and they're like, hey, we're
We
all
got
in.
it.
Absolutely. We would not have gotten there if it weren't for the owners.
Right.
So for sure.
I want to go back to your comment about whether or not someone's going to own it and then flip it versus keeping it for their lives. I think that sometimes we don't talk a lot about how that informs some of the decisions that are made during the construction process. And I saw this a lot at the beginning of the quote-unquote green era, right? Where folks that had more of a long-term aspect of it would spend a little bit money up front to create that building that had some more of the sustainability features, where perhaps ones that wanted to flip it didn't want to spend that excess of money. So I think that's interesting that, people have that. I think in particular sustainability, it's changed because now I think it adds to your profitability of the product. But you do have two totally different mindsets that you need to wend your way through to make sure that developer, with whatever mindset they have, is completely satisfied while still making sure that product is going to be perfect when it hits the market.
Right. And that's what I love about True, and kind of maybe thinking about one of our target audiences is new owners. So new to hospitality, new to Hilton. We want to make it as almost like cookie cutter as you can and simple, so that those decisions are kind of almost made for you. And if you just want to get into hotels, if you want to get in with Hilton, True is such a perfect brand because you kind of taken all the guesswork out of that stuff. But
Right. I love that idea of all the guesswork being taken out and just having it. So without the land, blah blah blah. What's it cost to get into one of these typically?
well, our
Well, now you're just going for the jugular. Now, is she really going to put that out there?
The reason why I'm asking her
There's
this is
public information out there.
I've asked this question of 1,000 brand heads and stuff like that, because it's pretty essential type of a question. But I would take a guess, but I'm not going to do that.
oh, you're not going to take a guess?
90.
I would say officially we put out a 111 a key.
Okay.
Anecdotally, it's coming in probably
Right. And one of the
closer to
things,
what you're
and one of the
saying.
things that you folks do, and this isn't just True or Hilton, but most hotel companies, they will continue to look at ways to refine the brand prototype as time goes on, as you learn things, as new technologies come in, or just as you realize that you could do something more efficiently yet for less money.
And for people that don't understand what that means is when you're building for 90 a key or 100 a key in this market, in this environment, that's incredible because hotels are going for much more than that. So if you can get a good market and you can build with an amazing brand like True for that per key, whereas 20 years ago that was expensive, now that's really
well, and I think we're at an interesting point because, with the brand growing so fast, it's kind of like you go from opening and it's kind of on theory, and then you get a few open and you want to see what are the numbers looking like as they come in. Now we're at 100 and it's still early days. So we're still like collecting all the data to see where can we find those efficiencies? What are the common areas that we can tighten up? Where can we leverage? There's a lot to play with right now. So we don't have all the answers to that now, but it's something that I love collecting.
Why is True the best option versus your competition?
We are, first of all, when we started out with True, we were looking at similar category. Age of hotels was 26 years old.
Wow.
So for us to be all new build, massive advantage. For us to have this incredible design that was created with consumers and owners, great advantage. Pretty different. It's definitely different, and you can hear it from our guests.
Right.
Try to define what different means.
So when you go in, you have, first of all, just looking at the look and the feel is really fun and vibrant, and you come in and there's like this circular front desk. And the team, by the way, that's wearing these True colorful t-shirts and jeans are greeting you, and you can check in, maybe use your app. But you see this vibrant area. Everyone's got a mural that's really vibrant. It's got like their location, and there's a pool table or a foosball table. There's local, things smattered about. So it just feels very high energy and very fun and very approachable. And I love when the team members are wearing their jeans and t-shirts. It makes them kind of seem more approachable. So the service scores are great. Like there's just a vibe about it that's different. To get that at that price point when the competition on average is 26 years old and pretty traditional, that's a really good combination. And you're part of the Hilton system. So you've got, think about corporate guests that like to do business with Hilton, but they needed something at a lower price. Now we got an option for them. You think about, as we were saying before, Hampton's doing so well. If that ends up being a little too rich for your blood,
No, it's interesting.
True isn't interesting.
I have an investor that we want to partner in the hotel. I think I just bought a True.
Oh, yeah.
I have an application online. You can
Up 103.
I told you. Check my watch.
Before the end of the podcast.
Write it down.
That's great. So I want to ask you a question or two about leadership. I mean, you were in a role where you were a liaison between the owners and the brand. So how does your role change in terms of what you have to bring to the table and leadership skills when you take on a brand and it's a totally different experience?
Yeah. Since I've started on property, I talk to team members all the time as you kind of work your way up through. The things that made you successful were the things that you did yourself with your own hands, with your own work. You had control over it. The further you go, it's almost like one hand starts getting tied behind your back, another gets, and you have to do it all through words and encouragement and leadership. It's totally different skill set. So in a brand, within Hilton, we call ourselves the Matrix organization. So you've got really, subject matter experts in design, in revenue management, in every aspect. You have to kind of be able to balance all of those decisions, get all of the best information, and make those decisions on a very holistic level.
What has been the biggest change in Hilton in the last 10 years? Because you guys shifted. And when you shifted... Okay, there we go.
He totally changed the entire company.
And he is, what I always say is, and I've been with Hilton my whole career, so watching him, he's never failed. Always talks, when he talks to the team members, he always leads with culture and then the business. Culture first, then the business. We know we're going to talk about the business. He starts with culture, and I think that is something.
So give me an example of the Hilton culture.
He talks about wanting to be the best place to work. He talks about caring
Which,
for our team
you
members.
are now,
and we actually officially are. We
What?
weren't
What's
when he
that?
started
What's
it.
that?
Yeah,
What's that?
we are.
Number one best place to work.
To work,
I
yep.
think last year it was in hospitality. Now it's just everything.
Everything.
Are you
Yeah,
kidding
number
me?
2. We're number 2 in the whole.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it's pretty.
The whole
That's a big
universe.
deal.
It's a
Yeah.
big deal. So to see that wasn't what he was going for, but to have actually achieved those accolades is pretty impressive. But it's really about talking about taking care of your people. We are people serving people. That's never failed, and I think that kind of comes through in all of our teams. It certainly comes through our brands, and that is the secret sauce. Because like you can operate your businesses all the same way, but if the culture is there, that's what's actually going to make
And
everything
when did he
come
take
together.
over? How many years ago?
It's on 10 or 11.
Yeah, something like
so
that.
I kind of
Yeah.
shifted out of the business back to
Right.
TV about 9 years ago. And so now coming back into the business, like I left at the beginning of that, and coming back now is like, what happened to Hilton?
Right.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
so I notice it because
Yeah.
everybody's talking about it.
No, it's a
Everybody
phenomenal change.
all my friends want to work for Hilton.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, they're like, I'm working for Hilton. I was like, how's that going? Like, I love it. It's the best place I've
It
ever
is
worked.
the greatest.
Yeah,
That wasn't true 10 years ago.
it wasn't true just 4 years ago until they created the brand.
No, I'm just saying.
So many puns.
That's all right.
He got me.
That's right, you did. You didn't see that
You
one.
got me. You know what? You are so witty. You're not only handsome, you're witty.
Thank you. Well, it's all the collar stays that you gave me earlier today. But I will say this: when Chris Nacetta first came on board, the company culture was 180 degrees differently. Company was based in Beverly Hills, and the first thing that he did was move the company to the East Coast. That changed everything. It got rid of a lot of people that weren't ready to be on board with having a new culture, and it almost was as if you had a clean slate in order to develop a brand new company from. And rising from that has become such an incredible, powerful organization. And I got to tell you, I know a lot of Hilton executives, and I've never seen those people happier than they have been in the last few years.
Yeah. It has been incredible. And one funny story is when we moved from Beverly Hills to McLean, we were one of the first tenants in this big office,
Yep.
and the other ones were this law firm, very well-known DC law firm. And you could always tell who the Hilton people were because we would always hold the elevators and pick up the trash in the hallways, and they would be like, "You Hilton people, get out of the elevator!"
And the guys from the law firm would just serve you papers.
Right. And they would charge you for picking up the paper.
Right.
Yeah. Billable.
Yeah, for the full hourly rate. Okay, so this is interesting to me. So what leadership lesson have you learned, or cultural lesson maybe, have you learned personally from Chris Nacetta, the CEO, that's really changed your perception on how to create a great environment for people?
Yeah, I think the best advice I ever got was, especially as I was kind of moving into different roles, was it was actually from John Rogers, who's now in our Watford office. But he said, as a leader, that was my first vice president job. And like I said, you become successful because of the things you have direct control over. Now is in this role where I really felt like I didn't know much about it. And he's like, your job as a leader is to paint the most crystal clear picture of the destination and get your team to look at it. They will tell you how to get there. And if things get crazy and too much is bogging them down, get them to look back at the picture and keep filling in the detail, and they will let them take you there. And that is so true.
I think that's the greatest advice I've ever heard. Because that is so true. Too many leaders try to get in the middle of solving the problems, and their job is to hire good people to solve them and show them the vision.
And
I
clear
think
the
that's
way.
the best thing I've ever
Yeah.
heard.
So where's this all going to go for True and for you?
Well,
And tell us the truth.
tell us the truth. I said we're moving at warp speed,
Yeah.
right? So we're really looking at what we were solving for 50 open hotels. Now we're solving for 100. It's going to be 300 soon.
Wait, what do you mean by solving?
Like
because when
thinking
you
you-
have more properties, things get a little bit more complicated,
Well,
right?
imagine if you want to make a change, right? It only is going to affect 50 hotels in January. Now it's going to affect 100 hotels, and next year it's going to be that. So you want to be nimble, but you also want to think about what happens as brands scale. What's that going to do to the brands? What's it going to do to the resources? What's it going to do to the owner community? So it's really thinking far ahead of how do you harness both the scalability to take care of the hotels that are open and then the ones coming in the future. What are we going to gain from that? So it's always thinking ahead, but then not forgetting like what's happening today. So
Beautiful. I love that attitude of always thinking ahead and not getting caught up in the past. I think a lot of us live too much in the past and not enough in the future.
If I could make an observation, the reason, I don't know what the reason Hilton's successful, but the reason you're successful, in my observation, is you don't see problems.
I don't see what?
You don't see problems. You see solutions. You're like
There's always problems. Don't look.
But you don't see them.
No.
Because you're already, the time the problem's coming into your head, you're already figuring out the solution. And that's really,
right.
Like a lot of VPs and they get so stressed out.
Right.
Right? And I just can see it in your eyes. It's like, you don't have time for stress. It's like, we're going to solve the problem because we know we're going to have 100 of them. So let's have fun with that. And that's why I love the business. It's like, I don't get stressed out about the problems. Like, if the problem's not there, I get nervous because that means people hide them from me.
Oh, I agree with.
Right?
I agree with that.
It's like, we have no problems.
Yeah.
Like, the worst thing you can do in a stand-up meeting with me, especially going to the holiday weekend, it's like, so what do you got? No, I'm good.
Right.
What do you mean you're good? Or coming out of the holiday weekend, any problems? No, it was good. I'll just look at TripAdvisor.
That sounds like my teenage kids answering every question I give them.
I'm good. That was cool. Good. No, but isn't that true? That and teaching young managers that is so important.
Yeah, and you just got to be nimble and flexible. It's kind of like the same. You got to be like water. Kind of got to go with the flow, but at the same time, that water is carving out a pretty strong path. So
how do you check yourself to make sure that you're always performing the best that you can be performing?
The two people behind her.
Oh yeah, like stop. You got to have some self-awareness.
Right.
You kind of need to know, like, when you're having a good day and kind of ride that wave as much as you can, and then that gives you the reserves to get through the days that aren't so good. Yeah. But I think it's like paddle, like think through. You're going to get through the hard days.
How do you get through those hard days when you wake up and you just know it's going to be a bad one?
We have a pretty good time in the office, so we have a good time.
You don't think that way.
You
never
there's a
say,
pretty.
it's going to be a terrible day.
There's usually someone that's going to lift our spirits, but we have a pretty fun
I just
time.
think about what it's like being in my head, and I wake up some days, and it's just like I just don't want to deal with anything, and everything is like going through, mud and stuff.
Yeah, but
like
you know
that.
what? You don't have a team, and one of the greatest things that I miss, and you said it the other day on the podcast, I miss taking the hotel from a turnaround and taking that team and funneling through this path, and at the end sitting there and everybody's like, how did you do that? And me and my team looking at each other and go, I don't know, we were too busy working and having fun.
Right.
And I jones for that.
One of the greatest things that just happened is we've got all these hotels opening, a few a month for the last few years, and we hadn't gotten we wanted to get the first 100 GMs together in a room.
That must have been a ball.
Oh my God. It was really one of the highlights of my career because they each know that they're doing something different in the industry.
That's
but
cool.
They're feeling a little like they're doing it on their own, and the troubles that they're having are different than they are for other brands. So we wanted to get them all together, and the energy was pretty insane. Like it was really cool. Like there's something that's bubbling up within the True culture that we plan for it, and we have a strategy of what we want this culture to be like. But to see what was happening kind of organically, we want to harness that and let them lead the way and kind of, you can't teach that. That's just going to happen.
And you can walk into an independent hotel or a branded hotel, and I can tell you the culture by the time I get to my room. I can tell you what the CEO's doing and not doing. I can tell you what the general manager. I don't know if I've done it with you, but I can literally tell you what the general manager looks like. What the general manager, if it's a female or a male,
That's
and
hysterical.
Really?
and what clothes they're wearing and how they show up, whether they wear a tie, don't wear a tie, just by the way their team and their hotel runs. And it's a game I play with myself.
We gotta do that sometime.
That's
You've
a
never
fun
done
game.
that?
Not with you, no.
I want to be there.
Yeah.
My partner over there, Jeremy, who's watching this, I've done that with Jeremy. We walked in the hotel and I said, I guarantee you, it's a female executive. She's wearing all black and she's really intense. And boom. So you can hotels are a living, breathing thing.
They're an organism,
They
right?
really are. They're a personality. And to bring that personality up, especially when you're doing 100 hotels, and to get that team together and feel that energy, I can't explain to you what that feels. I know what you mean because
I told
there's
them
nothing greater than that.
when we started, I said, and they all kind of came into, some of them had never been on an airplane before, and they came into the room and I said, you guys don't know it, but tomorrow you're going to leave with friends you're going to have for the rest of your life. You guys might find your next boss. You might find your next business partner. You don't know it, but this is going to be the greatest week.
And someone asked me, pitching another show for me, and they're like, would you mind doing it with a co-host? I was like, oh, please, give me 4. It's like I get energy off of other people. And I didn't realize that for many years. But so, Glenn, just so we can help you, when you get into your head, call one of us.
Yeah, I will.
And we'll help
We're here for you.
I will. Well, I've been there on some days that we record. You could just so tell that I'm like an emotional mess and stuff like that. But then, you don't ever have that.
You know what? I've learned a long time ago, and we're getting personal for a second. I lost my dad when I was 2.
Right.
you don't have bad days after that. It's like I had the worst day of my life at that point.
Right.
At that point, now I have children, and thank God, as long as they're okay, I'm okay. But I don't look at things. So yesterday, I was talking to Cornell students, and someone asked me what was the biggest failure of your career, and I couldn't answer it.
Right.
And I didn't answer because I didn't have any. I just didn't look at it as a failure. I looked at it as an opportunity to learn, and that's not a BS line. That's not like that's what I'm supposed to say. I literally couldn't tell you any of my failures because I don't know. Just like the successes, I haven't really thought about my successes. I'm just too busy, not getting caught.
Yeah, right.
Right, but it's true.
Yeah.
It's like if I move fast enough, no one knows what I'm doing.
I fail.
And so as we start to wind stuff down on this conversation, what advice would you give out there to folks that are just starting out their career or have been in it for a little while and want to be global head of a major brand one day?
Oh, yeah. I would say take advantage of every opportunity you have to learn something new.
Right.
There's so many. Hospitality is the greatest industry. If you like marketing, you can do marketing. If you want to be an asset manager, you can do everything within the hospitality industry. It's the greatest. So take advantage, move sideways to lateral positions. If you scoop up every opportunity you can, and then use what you learn as you go. It's kind of like you're building this giant snowball, but leverage all of that. And I think people just don't.
That's super hysterical because we were just talking to a group of students earlier, and that's literally the advice I gave them.
Oh, good.
And
We are
also
aligned.
to kind of underline that point, because I think that's absolutely right, that your boss knows the person that comes in their office and you just gave them a report that you don't really want to give them. You just give them more work that you don't want to give them, but you have to give them. And the employee that says, okay, got it, and is going and looking at it as an opportunity and like, oh my God, I got to do this. And yeah, maybe I'm going to miss something or I can't leave the office at 5 o'clock, but I got to get this done. As opposed to the person that comes in and goes, I got to do this now. Doesn't she know that I have all this work? She doesn't understand my plight in life.
Right.
And she doesn't get it. We know those people. And guess what? The person that you say, why'd they get promoted? That is why. Yep. Because they took that report and they didn't give me a lot of crap about it, and they made sacrifices and they were excited about it. And that to me are the people, I think, like us that how many times have you had a boss give you more work than you can handle and you handled it?
Yeah, you just do.
You just do.
You just do.
I'm just blessed that I'm getting that work because
I agree.
There's a lot of people that don't get that work.
My strategy was just to do everything slowly and poorly so no one gave me anything.
Listen, you're only 15 minutes from a nap and a bagel.
That's my life. All right. So we like to wrap up all the shows with one more question, a final one. Tell us something about you that we don't know.
She plays tennis a lot.
Okay, so my mom was born in Jerusalem and lived in the Armenian Quarter.
Oh, cool.
And left in 1958. We're taking her back for Thanksgiving.
Oh,
She has never traveled internationally.
I'm going to cry just listening to that.
And she's going to show us where she grew up. Now, here's what's funny. I'm terrified because she says things like, this was 60 years ago. I wonder, nothing's changed there. I wonder if that food truck is still there. She's so adorable, but so scary. She's never traveled. And as the hotel person, it's going to be on me to navigate all of it. So,
yep. That's
see
great.
if I survive.
Well, Jerusalem is amazing. Have you been there?
I've never been, which is the other reason why I'm like, she's going to be leaning on me to show her where
it is. All right, so I got a good restaurant for you to go to.
Okay,
Not in the
good.
Armenian Quarter. I don't know which quarter it was in. I know I didn't go to. I wasn't welcome in the Muslim Quarter. So, but being a Jew and all. But we did get my kid's bar mitzvah there. So
did you really?
yeah, that was really pretty cool. I think it's the most amazing, incredible city
wait.
that I've ever been to. You're going to absolutely love it. So, Anthony, tell us something about you that we don't know.
That my children, because their great-grandfather on their mother's side was Jewish, from Israel, I think they have birthright. Do they have birthright? They want to know.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know.
They're 1/8 Jewish.
Yeah, sounds
They
good
get
to me.
birthright?
Hey, look, if I'm in charge, they got it.
They want to know. I got to know. I got to get back to them.
Yeah, well, I don't know,
He says it.
It's so funny. My daughter says to me, she goes, Dad, all my friends are having bar mitzvahs and bas mitzvahs. Like, I want one. I was like, have you been to a shul? What's a shul? And I'm like, Sweet 16 or bas mitzvah? And plus, you have to work really hard at getting a bas
my
mitzvah.
God.
There's a lot of work.
I had to learn a whole language and be
Right.
able to read it. And
But my daughter literally was like, she was about to do her crying thing. Like, I want one. And I was just like, You don't know what a shul is.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what. The best part about being bar mitzvahed after you do that Torah portion is everybody hands you a check and says, congratulations.
Well, Sweet 16
nothing could be more Jewish than that. So I guess I got to tell you guys.
It's so funny. My friends that I play poker with, I'm the only Italian in the mix. They're all Jewish, and they take those checks from their bar mitzvah to pay off the bar mitzvah.
Yeah, a lot of families do that.
My kids would kill me if I took the Sweet 16 money.
They should build a true.
Yeah.
Just saying.
I'm always the salesperson.
At my bar mitzvah, I was allowed to keep the physical cash that I got, but every check had to go into a bank account for long-term savings.
Oh.
But I was lucky enough, and I guess this will be something you don't know. I was lucky enough to get $400 in cash, which in 1983 was a pretty big amount of money. So I rolled that in. I got my first ever VCR, and it was really sexy. It was a top-loading one.
What's a VCR?
Yeah, right? Exactly. It's this machine that took these big cassettes, and you could see poorly composed images on the screen that wouldn't count for
and
today.
rewind.
Yeah, please be kind.
When you say poorly, I thought you said something else.
All right, we're going to leave it at that.
Okay.
You have successfully accomplished this podcast. You have now earned the right for a good shameless plug. Tell us anything you want about Hilton True, or maybe a good food truck you know in Jerusalem.
I want everyone to try True. We want True to be the entry point for owners to try Hilton, and for new guests to try Hilton. It's fun, it's spirited, it's simple, it's grounded in value, and there's one coming your way.
Great. Yeah, there sure is.
And she said it like, and there's one coming your way, whether you want it or not. It's like,
Get on board, get on board.
Racing right down here. Get out of the way right now.
Come join us.
All right. So, and where can we find you guys? I don't want to throw out. Did you throw out a website or something like that?
Oh, truebyhilton.com.
All right. And Anthony, how can we find you, sir?
Anywhere you want to be on the internet at Anthony Hotels.
And also, Anthony's just recently launched a new company, Hospitality Success, which I think is pretty cool. It's a great way to get some training.
And you know what? Doing this, having this conversation, I actually thought of an idea that I'm actually going to ask you at the end of the podcast.
That's great. Tease the listeners with stuff they'll never hear. I like that. How can we find you online?
You already asked me, but I'll tell you again.
I don't think I heard it. I think you got distracted.
No, he got
said
distracted.
I got distracted. All right, I'm the one that got distracted.
See, I need a referee on this podcast. See, I told you I need a referee.
Thank you. Yes.
Glenn, repeat after me.
Yes, sir.
I am always right. You're always wrong.
I am always right, and you're always right. Well, I'm glad you guys joined us today for another fun episode. I am at Traveling Glenn. Be sure you subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Google Play, wherever you prefer to get your podcasts. But if you want to get our weekly newsletter, easy enough, text the word hotel to 66866. And of course, like us on Facebook, follow us on LinkedIn, any other social media, we are there. So for Talene Staab, Anthony Melchiorri, and myself, Glenn Haussman, thanks for checking in.
That's true.
It's checking in with Anthony and Glenn, teaching you to be the hotelier that you wanna be. It's checking in with Anthony and